Hello and welcome to Eco-Terrorism. I'm Zeinab Bailoun. The process of deciding what happens to waste is known as waste management and is essential for both health purposes and the environment. Joining us today in the studio is Dr. Dany Obeid, Faculty of Agronomy at the Lebanese University. Thanks for being here with us today.
Good evening.
So to start with, we're going to be looking at a quick report before we continue our discussion.
Waste management, or the process of managing and monitoring waste materials, is a distinct practice from resources recovery, which focuses on delaying the rate of consumption of natural resources. Hence, waste management involves hauling the trash to a sanitary landfill where it is properly disposed of. Waste materials which fall within the remit of waste management vary from solid, liquid, gaseous, and radioactive. For instance, most commercial products are manufactured using a lot of materials of different origins. Production of goods in a global division of labor is a highly sophisticated management problem. Waste management is mostly solved on a local or regional level. The management of material chains comprises the steps of production, consumption, and disposal, including reuse, recycling, and recovery if possible. Therefore, waste management is only a subsystem in the whole management of material chains. The proper management of waste is essential to avoid problems associated with improper disposal of waste, such as pollution of the environment and diseases. This may lead to social and economic problems, such as costs associated with treating diseases brought by improper waste management. Among the most important methods of waste management is prevention of created waste material, which is also known as waste reduction. Methods of avoidance include the reuse of second-hand products, repairing broken items instead of buying new, designing products to be refillable or reusable, such as cotton instead of plastic shopping bags. What is the condition of the MENA region in this regard, and what is the method used for the disposal of dangerous waste management, especially infectious healthcare waste management?
So, Dr. Obeid, what does waste management involve and how would you define it?
Waste management, by definition, is the process of collecting the waste and also the final disposal. This is what people think waste management is, but we have also to add for this the segregation and how the consumer is dealing with these waste. Waste management is not only, as I said, transportation or collection and disposal. It's also what we buy. It's the policy of buying. It's a policy of importation, and it's also all the law that are dealing with this topic, and especially how every person is dealing with it. Is if we are making a real segregation at source, and how we are dealing with our waste.
So where do you think this is most important for us to take a look at first? For example, say, is it more important to look at on the individual level or at the governmental level to start changing the way we look at waste management?
We have to change on all the levels, for sure. There is a basic law, or let's say an important thing in environmental awareness is, let's say, the polluter pays. That means everyone who's polluting is responsible for the pollution that he's making. In waste management, polluter pays means that everyone is producing the waste is responsible for, or at least to pay for the collection and also for the final disposal. So polluter pays pushes all the countries, pushes all the governments to make many laws to encourage people to reduce the waste they are producing, to handle with the waste that they are producing in a proper way, to put them in, and also at the end they also have to pay for the final disposal.
Is this present in Lebanon and say for the rest of the Middle East?
Well, in our countries, it's not that clear. Our governments are paying a lot of money to collect and also to make final disposal. What they have to do is to pay much more money for some more awareness, to let people segregate much more their waste. Today, as I was saying, people think that waste management, it's the government's role. It's not our role to do anything. We're just producing these waste and we are throwing them in the garbage bin at the end. But this is not where our work or our job, let's say, or our task ends.
So it will be, there will be running at the bottom of the screen some information about the GCC countries and waste in these countries. But going back to you, Dr. Obeid, can you talk more about this issue in the GCC countries? Do you think that there is a system that is currently there, but the problem is awareness, or do you think it's both of these two?
Okay. Indeed, if we make some small calculations, we know many people today, when they speak about pollution or when they speak about war, they are afraid of weapons or invaders. In my opinion, the new invaders of this 21st century are the waste, because they are invading us. We are producing kilograms and kilograms every day, and there is no place to dispose all this waste.
So we don't have a system in place to take care of this.
Usually, every person produces around 1 kilo per day. So we're producing 1 kilo of this waste daily. Usually, with a good policy, we can recycle much of this waste, and we will just end with less than 10% of this kilo for the final disposal. So we can recycle. We can make a policy to reuse. So we already heard about the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and finally recycle. I don't want to blame all the governments, most of our governments here, but in my opinion, most of the work that the governments are doing, they are making big efforts and very good job to collect and to dispose.
Which is not enough.
Which is not enough, because they are not making any effort to encourage people to reduce or to reuse. And some people are aware of this. Many people would help in such a matter, would segregate at home, but it's not easy to find bins for recyclables everywhere in our countries. So we are making very good collection, very good disposal, but not very good awareness.
So we'll be talking more about recycling in future episodes, but can you tell us more about reducing and reusing? What exactly do these processes involve?
Okay. Reducing and reusing. When you speak about the reusing, it's the use again of the same product in a different way. If I can give an example, an old example of, let's say, when my grandmother, when she used to buy, let's say, milk, it was in that big
carton.
Yes, and when then she was reusing it for rice, for example, for few years, and at the end it ends like plant pots on the balcony. That was years ago. Many clothes can be just sent to some NGOs or some people to be reused. Lately, we had a big problem with the electronic waste, and some NGOs and some companies were just fixing these computers and not reselling them, but giving them to people who are cannot afford such a new device. So in a way, we can make a system to reuse the product. Many people would throw some stuff that they don't need them anymore, but some other people can just reuse them. Personally, or many people would go to a shop to buy second-hand clothes, and this is also a way to reuse.
To reuse what is already there.
When we go to reducing is when you reduce the amount of waste we are producing. For example, using glass instead of plastic. This is the easiest example that we can give. A glass, you can just clean it and use it again and again and again, while plastic cups or plastic cans for any soft drinks or juices, etc. It's just to throw it again, and you cannot use it again. This is another example that we can help people to reduce. And an example that is always is very critical and is terrorizing me most of the time is the plastic bags. We go for shopping, or we go to any supermarket, and we come back with many plastic bags. And I'm not saying that we have to our luxury. We don't have to reduce the luxury. We still need clean stuff. We always need to handle our stuff in a very good way. But whenever we can reduce production of waste, we have to use again and again and again. Personally, whenever I go to some places, sometimes I tell them no bags. I have my own, where I put all my stuff. It's not in our culture, and everybody finds that oh my God, he's so stingy. He doesn't want to pay. It's for free. Take 2 or 3 bags. But no, this is not the case. We are just producing this big amount of bags, and then we are throwing them in the nature. We are polluting our nature. We are making our sea dirty, and the same for the nature. And
So you're talking previously about electronics and electronic waste. This would probably fall under the category of dangerous waste. What can you tell us about dangerous waste?
This is true. Electronic are considered as dangerous waste. When we talk about dangerous waste, we have many kinds. It starts, let's say, from the waste that are produced in a hospital. They are infectious waste. If we go to any big factories, they produce huge amounts of liquids that are toxic. Other than that, we have the waste that are produced in.
Can we prevent this dangerous waste from affecting us if we start using this process of reusing, recycling more often? Or is this something that applies to the way that the companies themselves create their own policies?
Exactly. Reduce, reuse, recycle goes more towards the domestic waste. For infectious and for dangerous waste, we have to something different that only the company can apply. Only the company that are producing this kind of waste can apply for it and reduce the amount of waste produced.
So we'll be shedding more light on this issue right after the break, but stay tuned. We'll be back.
Around the world, outside the mainstream, anywhere, everywhere. A media of your land, of your creation. A new media and a new era. Will it take the lead in the future? I believe so. This is Underground.
Underground, when vague turns to clarity.
Welcome back. The following report addresses more waste management issues. We'll be taking a quick look at this video.
Europe is a nice place with some really great people, but man, do we love to throw things away. In fact, the average European junks about 525 kilograms of waste each year. I mean, that's a whole lot of stuff. And much of it really is stuff as opposed to waste. Useful stuff, worth money. All in all, it's just a waste of waste, isn't it? It's pretty hard on your back too. So, what can you do about it? Stay tuned. OK, so you've got your half a ton of waste, which might not make you half a ton of money, but it could make you some. And off we go. A lot of the stuff in the bag is pretty useful as it is. Some bottles just need a wash-up and a new cap. And old clothes and furniture come back into fashion before you know it. Some of it might need a bit of repair, but hey, that's job creation right there. Can't be a bad thing, can it? That's it, we're talking reuse. You might need to spend some money to make this happen, but since useful stuff is valuable, you'll get it back. And then some. Now, some of your waste might be useless in itself, but made out of good stuff, like metal, glass, paper and cardboard, all of which can be utilised again if you treat it right. And in fact, some of the really weird stuff used in electronic gadgets is so scarce that we actually need to use it again, if we don't want to run out. And yes, it's called recycling. Of course, collecting and processing isn't free, but here's the clever bit. Recycling turns your waste into useful stuff that can be sold. Shazam! Money in the bank, mate. And as if by magic, new jobs will appear as well. So, how's your back then? Better, eh? Looking good.
Now, for more on waste management, we are joined by phone from Beirut with Mr. Fadel Fakih, humanitarian and environmental activist. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. It's an honor, actually.
Mr. Fakih, what are incinerators and what do incinerators do in this regard?
Incinerators is like a big factory where they burn waste. Mm-hmm. And currently many countries around the world, they are getting rid of them because of the pollutants they produce, like dioxin, for example, which is a cancerous gas. So many countries are looking now for a more sustainable solutions, like sorting from the source.
Mm-hmm. So it seems that incinerators are obviously a negative thing due to their negative impact on the environment. Yeah, so how would you say you would fight this project of incinerators?
Yeah, what we do is like we get the garbage and we burn it, and we have, of course, some chemicals and greenhouse gas comes out because of burning those garbage. For that reason, that's why most of the countries are getting rid of it. And the main issue with incinerators is that it consumes a lot of money, and currently, for a country like, for example, here in Lebanon, the government is trying to have 4 incinerators, whereas Germany is not producing waste enough to keep its incinerators running, so they are taking Europe's garbage and burning them just to keep the incinerator running. So from this point, we can see actually that incinerators need a lot of garbage, and we can't always use incinerators. It only depends on the quality and the kind of and the type of the waste we are burning.
Mm-hmm. So how can we stand against this? How exactly should we make it clear that incinerators are a bad thing for the environment and for us?
Yes, definitely. It's a bad thing, and what we should do is first sorting from the source. And many people know that garbage doesn't really have to cost us money. We can gain money. We can see people on the streets they are living out of garbage. People on mountains of garbage, especially in the poor countries, they are living out of selling plastic, selling the aluminium, and recycling papers. And this is how what we should do actually.
Mm-hmm. Is there some sort of ethical system that you think waste producers should be following?
Sorry?
Is there an ethical system that you think waste producers should be following?
Sorry, waste producing?
Waste producers, exactly, like waste producing countries or companies. Do you think that they need to follow a certain set of rules that govern the way that they get rid of their waste?
Yes, sure. They should more. This concept is a very, very nice concept where the main source of the polluter, the main polluter pays. And the main polluter, we mean by the main polluter is the person who is producing this waste. And he is not the consumer of waste, of the household stuff, but the factory that produces them. And the government should really place high amount of taxes on non-environmental friendly substances, like electronics, for example.
Thank you, Mr. Fakih. We'll be back to our guest in the studio, Dr. Dany Obeid. Can you tell us about whether you think that countries should be imposing certain penalties, for example, on waste producers?
You know, in management-wise, you cannot improve something that you cannot measure. So as far as people don't measure their waste,
it's difficult to impose penalties.
Yes, as people, they don't know how much they pay for their waste. I mean, if you ask anybody who has how much does he pay for per year, let's say, for the waste, they wouldn't know. We are paying them indirectly. So this, but it's less than pennies in many countries, especially in our area. So whenever we start being responsible for our waste and start paying for this amount of waste, this is already a good start for the waste. I'm not speaking about the waste that are disposed in a illegal way. Just legally, every person is allowed to produce a certain amount of waste. Let's each person pay for this amount, and whoever wants to produce more, he can also. He will have to pay more, and when we say penalties or just pay for something, I mean it is in a way illegal or very, very bad for the government. For example, when I am buying tires for my car, paying very few money for these tires, and every 2 years when I just change them, I don't think what's going to happen with these tires. It's very easy if we just increase the prices of these tires, have a small tax for these on the price of these tires. I will be indirectly paying for the final disposal of these tires. And why I'm mentioning tires, because it's something that almost everybody is using, almost everybody is producing, and it's one of the worst kind of waste that is not recycled. We cannot easily recycle them, and surely disposing them as we are doing now is very polluting for the environment.
What final words do you have in terms of raising awareness about this issue?
Well, we have to be aware of these new invaders that are invading us, and I would like to remind people about the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle. Because after all, you know, as they say, this word we didn't take them from our parents. We just borrowed this word from our children, and we have to give it in a better way.
Thank you very much, Dr. Obeid. Before we end our episode for today, here are some tips that help you to decrease domestic waste production. Let's look at first the kitchen. Arm yourself with a reusable water bottle and a few cloth bags, as well as reusable jars, and reinvent your leftovers before they go bad. When looking at the bathroom, use 100% recycled and unbleached toilet paper individually wrapped in paper. When you're looking at the dining room, use ceramic dishes and cloth napkins at all times. And when you're looking at the closet, only shop a couple of times a year to avoid compulsive buys and buy secondhand clothing. Please note that we will be dealing with recycling waste management in depth next week. Finally, thanks to Dr. Dany Obeid, Faculty of Agronomy at the Lebanese University, for joining us in the studio, and to Mr. Fakih for joining us by phone. That's it for today. This was Eco-Terrorism, and I'm Zeinab Bailoun. See you next week.